Alright, Shalom. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahawashai, Ba'asham Rakakwada. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone who rule well, pushing this 100% truth of the gospel, waking up and sealing the elect of the nation of Israel through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahawashai, Ba'asham Rakakwada. And salutations to all your sincere that are pushing this gospel in all righteousness and in all sincerity, risking your lives and your freedom to do so. That's right. And once again, we are the Hebrew Israelites coming in and week out, bringing out the 100% truth of the gospel of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahawashai, Ba'asham Rakakwada. Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father, the creator of heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, the God which the scriptures speak of, and our Lord Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly and willfully calls Jesus Christ, and the Rakakwadash, which is the Holy Spirit. Right. Our out here once again to bring out the 100% truth of prophecy of the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua, and hey, all praises, glory, and honor is due unto the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua, because you can clearly see that Bible prophecy is coming to pass in our times right now, and in the times that we're in right now, okay? Because now just watching the news and looking through social media and see what's going on, watching some YouTube videos, and what I was seeing is that, hey, the algorithm towards the MOTB is being pushed forward more and more and more and more. Okay? Now, if you remember, right, that basically what happened is that a lot of these payment platforms, your MasterCard, Visa, right, InterSwift, basically, PayPal as well, they have begun to stop processing payments and transfer. They have begun to stop processing payments and transactions for any company or any, for any company, right? Any store, company, that uses their service, that hosts all these corn, basically, right? All these corn games and so on and so forth. So it's become a major deal in the gamer sphere, because Jake still dabbles a little bit in gaming here and there. So basically, what happened is that, due to the fact that these major financial, fintech, financial, whatever type you want to use, conglomerates, right? PayPal, Visa and MasterCard don't want to process transactions for these services or for any services that allow corn in their, websites or their stores, right? Now, basically, a lot of these companies have been taking down, the corn that they have registered on them, right? And basically, what that is the algorithm towards the MOTB, because now Israel is beginning to crack down on finances and control those finances, right? And I also watched the brother Yashalam, okay? And this camera looks a little bit, it's a little bit higher than it's supposed to be. Then we can bring this down a little bit, just to make sure that it stays in the right position. Okay. That's much better. So like I was saying, right? Yeah, the brother Yashalam, from the New York camp, he basically did a video about Marjorie Taylor Greene going into the same thing, right? How Donald Trump's big beautiful bill is going to, not just the big beautiful bill, right? But even the Senate as well are basically now allowing, CBDCs and cryptocurrencies to be unregulated, right? In order to be used as legal tender. And what all these things are doing is they are leading towards the MOTB. And she even said it with her own mouth, man. I've read Revelation the 13th chapter, and I know how this ends. So that shows you right there, man. Things are getting ready to happen, right? This year, man, things are moving forward. And the algorithm of the MOTB is moving at full speed this year, right? So let me explain what's going through my mind right now, right? So basically what happened is that Esau is beginning to push his draconian legislation and his draconian decrees. So what's coming first, right, and what has been consistently happening over the years. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right, and Esau is beginning to show his horns, and he's beginning to show the world that he is the devil, which the Bible speaks of, with these unrighteous decrees. Okay? And the reason why it's an unrighteous decree is because you might say, oh well, Esau is cracking down on corn, right? And he's cracking down on that stuff, right? Corn. You know, you can't see the full word on YouTube once again, showing you the times that we're in, right? Because that censorship and even the word censorship that's going on YouTube as well is also an indicator of the time that we're in. But let's understand something, okay? It's not that I'm saying that we're not saying anything like, oh, that that corn is lawful or anything like that. No, that's still very much playing harlots, right? But what we are saying is that Esau doesn't believe that, okay? So what you have to understand is that even you have to understand about this devil, and I've said it I've said it before, and it cannot be stressed enough, okay? If that is evil to himself, to whom shall he be good? Let's get that said. Now I believe that should be the book of Ecclesiastes, but let's go to that real quick, okay? So that's basically the point right there. So this is the book of Ecclesiastes 14 verse 5. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. Right, so when you see these laws being set up in places like Texas, right, where basically, corn is banned except you have an ID and so on and so forth, or the Internet Safety Act, or the Child Protection Act, that Israel is basically using as justification for why he is cracking down on so many different things on the internet and basically forcing you to have your ID, right? To have your identification out when you are using and browsing the internet, right? And he disguises it under they disguises it as though it is for the sake of safety, that he's just trying to make those people on the internet safe, basically, okay? But you have to understand that, hey, Esau is the devil which the Bible speaks of, okay? So all the things that he's doing right now is not pure. We know that he's doing it for the sake of wickedness, right? So let's go into that. Ecclesiastes 14 verse 6. There is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is the recompense of his wickedness. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness. Right. So we understand that, hey, the reason why Esau is doing all this, man, the reason why he's cracking down on the corn on the internet, right, and he's basically bringing out all this censorship and blocking all these different sites that are putting up corn on them, right, is for the sake of control, okay? In order to control what people can view and purchase on the internet. And of course, Esau will start with what, of course, Esau is starting with the corn right now. But we already know it's going to progress to eventually. It's going to progress to MOT, in which you cannot, as the scriptures say, going back to the book of Revelation 13, verse 16, right? That you cannot buy or sell save you have the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And let's understand something, okay? This isn't me saying that, oh, Esau is the devil, right? Esau is wicked because he wants to take corn of the internet. No, this is me saying that Esau doesn't give a shit about corn or the ramifications of this. These are the same devils that made billions, okay, billions of the corn industry, right? These are the same devils that put, sex in everything. Right now, you can't even go to the cinema anymore, and they still have it up till now, right? They are trying to censor corn in video games and stop different companies from, putting up corn on their website by blocking payments, right? By blocking their transactions, right? But yet, you go to the movie theater, you watch a TV series, right? And all you see in it is just corn and adultery and wickedness, right? And it's not even and it's never just, a normal, a man and a woman are coming together, right? No, it's always, homosexuality, right? It is, right? I even saw a shot on YouTube of all places, of this chick begging, right? And that's basically what Esau is involved in right now. But he will still come out and tell you that, he's trying to keep the kids safe. But we know, okay, and we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, of course. We know that that's not what this devil is after. But rather what the devil is after is that he's trying to push the MOTV by controlling transactions and controlling payment services. And what, and basically by monitoring and basically by controlling the transactions and payment services, right? As the scriptures say. So this is the book of Revelation 13, verse 16, because this is relevant in order to understand what Edom is trying to set up next, right? Revelation 13, verse 16. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, right? And this is what is coming next, right? But in the time that we're in right now, they are in that gradual process, okay? Basically what this is gradualism, right? So in that process of slowly coming into that period, and that time where this is being implemented. But for now, all that being seen right now is the processes leading towards this, which is the MOTV, right? Which of course we believe through prophecy that it is the RFID microchip, right? Because if you look at the etymology, right, for the word mark, right, the blue letter for the word mark in Revelation, right, like I was saying, the blue letter for the word mark in Revelation 13. Let's get that. So let's go to that real quick. The word mark in Revelation 13. Hold on. Right. So the word mark in Revelation 13 verse 16 is the word charagma. Okay, charagma. Strong G5480. Charagma. A stamp, an imprinted mark. Of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as a badge of the followers of the anti-Hamashiach. The mark branded upon horses, thin crafts, sculpture, graving work. Right, so basically we understand by reading the etymology of the word that the Apostle Paul, not the Apostle Paul, the Apostle John the Revelator used the word charagma to mean an imprinted mark, something that is put, right, like I was saying, an imprinted mark, something that is put upon the body physically, okay? Because you do have these Hebrew Israelite camps that want to say that the actual MOTV is not a physical mark, but it's a spiritual mark, And they have all kinds of different ideas of what it is, right? But when you now ask them to explain their ideology, right? Explain why or how that makes sense, they will be unable to. Okay? So this is what, these measures they are currently seeing being put in place, right? Especially when it comes to global finance. When you see any new news or any new update on when it comes to global finance, right? The cashless policy, the move for a cashless society, right? These different banks shutting down, right? The rise of cryptocurrency. All these things are are basically modes or methods of gradualism towards MOTB. Because the end goal of Esau Edom, right, when it comes to the MOTB is cashless payment, right? So now Revelation 13, verse 16. Such as Revelation 13, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name, right? So, except you have the mark of the beast, which once again is a physical mark, something that can be looked at and tracked and checked upon your body, okay? Not sin, because how can you tell somebody has sinned, man? Look, even the scripture tells you, man, all have sinned and falling short of the glory of the Most High. How about Shami or Shai, right? That if we say that we have sinned, or that if we say that if we say that we have not sinned, right? That we are. Hey, let me get that. Let me get that. So this is the book of 1 John 1 verse 8. If we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves and the truth is not in us, right? That's basically what I'm trying to say right there. That's very true. That's basically what I'm trying to say, man. Now look, alright. Look. You can't say that the MOTB is sin when everybody on the earth has sin. And when secondly, only the Hebrew Israelites can even be able to sin. Because that would be like you saying that only the Hebrew Israelites, right? Only Jay can get the MOTB, But you have some of these other camps that continue to push a false doctrine on what the MOTB actually is. And eventually, man, you're going to have to stand on that and defend that when this thing starts being pushed on the earth. Because now we see that Esau is moving more and more towards the implementation of the MOTB, right? And really all that's left is just to start pushing the actual charisma, the actual mark, the actual RFID implantable microchip out here, right? But now, what Esau is doing is that he's migrating all his financial infrastructures towards, the MOTB, right? To make it more friendly towards MOTB. And this devil knows that he won't be able to do that without first controlling transactions. And that's what the big beautiful bill is all about, right? And that's why you see all these laws, all these draconian measures being pushed in the West, right? In America, Babylon the Great as well. These things aren't set up for the sake of online safety or child protection, right? Or to censor corn, right? These things are set up in order to control the transactions, to further control how transactions work within and without, within and without these kingdoms, right? And it's the same thing that's what's happening here in Nigeria as well. Because recently, you had this news come out that basically they are going to start having sales tax here in Nigeria, right? I've forgotten how it goes, but basically everything that you buy in Nigeria is still going to start being taxed. And I don't really know the rate in which it will be taxed. I think it's more like it's situational based on what you are buying, right? So that's coming up next year. So we see that globally there is a push more and more towards the MOTB, right? Because in order to tax all transactions, you have to actually know where and from where and to where those transactions are going, which is why the need for these digital payments are so, or rather I should say, which is why these digital payments are pushed so heavily. Because in order for this devil to know where the transaction is going, he has to set up the infrastructure for the digital payment to be able to not only tax but account for every single transaction that goes on, right? That's what's being set up in this kingdom, man. This is all being done, right? All these different moves that are being set up, okay? Right. All these different moves that are being set up by Esau Edom, okay? When it comes to transactions and finances, the reason why these the reason why these what term do I even use for them, right? The reason why MasterCard and PayPal and the other one, Visa, are starting to deny and reject transactions for certain companies, right? And it's not just based on code, it's also based on anything that goes against their terms of services. Even though they get a cut from those transactions, even though they make hell of money from those transactions, because these are billion-dollar industries, right? These are billion-dollar transactions that they are basically trying to shut down, right? But because of their agenda, right? The NWO, the need for the Great Reset, that's why all these things are being put in place, all right? Understand, Esau isn't doing it out of the goodness of his heart, because there is no good in the heart of Esau Edom. But what this is for the advancement of the NWO, okay? And that's why this is happening. So hey, you take that to be warned that these devils are beginning to set up are beginning to advance, go even faster, go even more into this the MOTB, right? We are getting closer and closer towards that time when the MOTB will be pushed throughout the whole earth, right? And you see right now in this time, man, the men of the Lord are giving warning to our people of the things that are coming upon the earth. And you have to stop looking at, and this is how you know it's like the devil, man. This is how you know it's like the devil, right? Because he uses his righteousness, right? Or he fakes righteousness, and he uses righteous acts, right? Or rather I should say that he fakes performing righteous acts for the sake of wickedness, right? And that's how Esau operates, After all, it's not written, the words of his mouth was smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. So this is the book of Psalms 55 verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And that's what Esau is preparing to do, man. Basically, while you think these devils, right, they are trying to push, for protection of minors, because that's basically what the Internet Safety Act is all about, right? Where they are getting people, which is also part of the algorithm towards MOTB. So now they want people to identify themselves whenever they go online. So you have to have an email account, right? Or an online account that is basically registered to your ID, your digital ID, right? So first they set up the digital ID, and they connected that digital ID to all the important information that you need. Banking information, of course, financial information, of course, because the MOTB is primarily being marketed as a financial device, right? Contactless payment. Because if you look at all the methods of contactless payment, guess what one of those methods will be? RFID implantable microchip, okay? And even right now, man, you already have a lot of these corporations, a lot of these companies that are already basically setting up payment platforms, right? Or basically payment gateways. I don't really know the term to use, but cashier point, where you can use the MOTB to pay. So swipe with your hand, right? If you have it implanted in your hand, right? And you know, or you can use the brain implant, which is also a part of the MOTB, right? Either in the right hand, which really is either hand, but you know, majority of the people on the earth, their dominant hand is their right hand. So majority of the people on the earth will have it implanted in their right hand. Me, I'm left-handed by the way, you know. I'm left-handed by the way, you know, my left hand is my dominant hand, right? But majority of the people on the earth will have it implanted in their right hand, right? Either in their right hand or in their forehead, metapon, which also includes, right, the brain interface chip. That's what they are calling it. That's what they are calling it. The brain interface chip, which is you know, which is what Musk, right? With Neuralink, okay, and even Apple as well, and you know, various other companies are setting up and are already beginning to interface that brain technology, that brain chip, right, with their own payment services. So Apple Pay will work with a brain chip, right? PayPal will work with a brain chip as well, right? And just like the scriptures say, man, if you don't have the MOTB in the times that are coming into, if you don't have the RFID implantable, if you don't have the RFID implantable microchip, the RFID implantable microchip, the RFID implantable microchip, okay? We are not saying that any chip that you have is the MOTB, because you see one stupid Jake will now come out tomorrow and be like, you know, so take potato chip to his hand. Oh, I got the MOTB now. You know, fully keep. You know, it's like, hey, Jeremiah 4 verse 22 to you niggas, man. Jeremiah 4 verse 22 to you niggas, you know. Jake is stupid as hell. We keep on specifying, right, the man of the Lord, the implantable RFID microchip, right? You can Google that right now, implantable RFID microchip, and you'll see exactly what it is. The grain of rice, basically, right? But Jake will still come out and say, oh, this dog has the MOTB because he has a chip in it. You know? Animals can be chipped too, man. Right? No, so like that one scupper did that one time. Where he taped a potato chip to his hand and he was like, oh look, I got the MOTB. Right. But what we say the MOTB is the implantable RFID microchip, right? Because basically all forms of technology right now have a chip in it. Which are your semiconductor and microchips, right? They all have microchips in it right now, you know. Your SIM card has a microchip. Your ATM has a microchip, right? And I'm trying to remember because I think that there are other devices that have microchips as well. Man, Isa be putting chips in everything nowadays. Isa is putting chips in everything nowadays, right? But that does not make them the MOTB. What makes an MOTB is implantable, right? It has to be delivered, you know, it has to have the criteria. First and foremost, it has to be used, it has to have the delivery system, which is the charisma. right? Which is that which is the charagma, which is that palisade, the syringe that is used to implant the MOTB into your right hand. And it also has to be implantable to your right hand or to your forehead and used primarily for transactions, right? So your banking keys, your authentication keys for your different banking apps, right, will be stored in your MOTB. Your credentials for your banking app will be stored in your MOTB, right? And of course, the MOTB has other functions, which of course, as the scriptures say, that Esau will perform miracles, right? Cause the blind to see and the lame to walk and so on and so forth, which you already see being done with the use of these neural link, right? Brain implants, brain interface. Right, so like I was saying, let me just quickly get the book of Revelation. Let me just quickly get the book of Revelation 13, verse 13. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Right. So basically, this is speaking of, America, Babylon the Great, and the revived Roman Empire, right? Because the structure and the setup of America, Babylon the Great is based off the Roman Empire, right? And the miracles that is being spoken of right now in the false sciences, right? The pseudosciences that you see that happen in Babylon, causing fire to come down from heaven. That's basically dropping all these bombs, right? Nagasaki and Hiroshima. All the bombs that are being dropped in the East day by day. These are the miracles that are being done in the sight of. And it's funny how the Middle East is not the most bombed places on the earth, right? And that's also where the foci of prophecy is. Okay? And that's basically what John the Revelator saw. Okay. So like I was saying, that's basically what John the Revelator saw. So the miracle is being performed by Esau Edom, right? And also the seat which he would deceive the whole earth with, by way of talking about the MOTB. I already see that's a butterfly right there. Somebody was calling his phone, right? So like I was saying, and you already see Esau doing Esau Edom, right? The so-called red man doing exactly just that. In the way he speaks of the MOTB, right? So basically, we tell you about how, that when the RFID microchip and all the miracles that you see, and all the so-called benefits or the merits of having the MOTB, the MOTB, right? The implantable technology, especially when it comes to the brain implants. Elon Musk has been talking about how they can basically use it to restore lost senses, so sight, sound, taste, and so on and so forth, right? And even using the brain implants, you can even restore somebody's ability to walk by basically reconnecting nerves that have been severed, right? And that's what Esau is planning to do, man, in order to push his agenda on earth. Allegedly, of course, because I have to be careful nowadays, man. YouTube is shutting down right now, You can't say, they can't say anyhow. You can't speak anyhow anymore because of the way which YouTube is. So yeah, you see these devils, they are preparing, the algorithm, right? They are preparing for the eventual push, right? The eventual spreading of the MOTV, the implantable RFID microchip. Because that's basically the plan right here. Revelation 13 verse 16, right? That's that Esau, the so-called red man, the devil, which the Bible speaks of, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark either on their right hand, right? Which basically is either hand anyway, because they are still going to have people that will be chip on their left hand. Or, well, the scriptures say, if you take the chip on the right hand, they are going to be destroyed. So I'm going to take the chip on my left hand, so I'll be safe, right? That's the kind of bullshit that Jacob could. That's the kind of bullshit Jacob could be thinking about, But no, it doesn't just mean that. It doesn't just mean that if you take it in your left hand, that means you are safe, right? And let's just go to that. Let's just do that real quick. Let's just go to that. Because the word for right hand in the Greek, I believe that's dominant hand. Let me go to that. Right. And the word for right hand in the Greek is dexteros. Dexteros, which is the right hand. Metaphor for a place of honor or authority. Dexteros, which is basically your dominant hand, right? So it's not actually referring to, what's this now?